Really, really excited today to talk about a topic that not many people are passionate about, but I am unusually passionate about it. Just because I feel like it's an area of my life, my husband's life, that we have mastered. And I think it's one of those things that we're continually growing in. But this is kind of our base level personal finance 101. And I'm going to kind of take the angle from, coming off of a ship as a crew member, to going on shore, and really looking at providing you guys with some guidance and some tools on what are the things that we have used successfully as we have kind of set the foundation of what our personal finances look like. And how the recommendations that we have for you. And then please, you guys are all in different phases and different seasons of your post-ship careers. So if you have any questions, just put them in the chat box, raise your hand. Remember at the bottom of the screen where the little smiley face is, that's where you can send us a reaction and emotion. And then there's a little hand, and that's where you can raise a hand. So if there's something that I say that you like or you want to react to, use those emojis. And if you want to interrupt me, don't worry, that's also fine. And I'm going to leave this a lot of time so that we can go back and forth and ask questions. And what we can do, at least because I know this is personal finance, for confidentiality purposes, is if there's anything that you guys want to ask that personally relates to you, that because we take these recordings and use them on our YouTube channel, we can edit those sections out. So just let us know just before you ask your question. Say, hey, this is something I want you guys to edit out, and then we'll know. But just know that this is a really open, safe forum, and the goal is that, you know, while we are a staffing company, we provide virtual jobs for former crew members. We also see ourselves as a professional development company. So our goal is to be putting content out there for former crew members that will help them through their transition to land, that will help them grow, that will help them learn new skills. And then obviously, I think one of the things that's different than most of the other personal finance things that I talk on, I talk at a women's shelter in Miami. I help them with their personal finances. I do stuff on my social media page, and then I just do individual one-on-one coaching sessions. And most of those are skewed towards the American market because most of the people I talk to are from the US. These things are going to be different in your country. Your country financially, fiscally operates differently than the US does. But I'll try to provide a baseline that should be helpful for everybody. So I'll go Christian, Carol, do you guys have anything to add before I get started?
No, all good. Let's take it away.
No.
Oh, anything to add? Anything you guys want to share about your personal finance journey as you got off ships?
Well, it certainly has been different.
Yeah.
We used to have one.
What was the biggest difference for you, Christian?
We used to have one bill to pay, the bar bill. That was it. But here, apparently, if you use your electricity, it's one charge. If you use the water, it's another charge. So we were very sheltered in a bubble where really you didn't have to pay for nothing. And now even the toilet paper, you have to go out there and buy toilet paper. What is this?
New world.
But it's definitely been a challenge, right? Because it's something that you're not used to. So it's a brand new world when you spent more than a decade on board. And even for someone that has done a short contract, it's still a hidden reality because you come back to land and it's just the system. You have to hit the floor running literally, or else the bills will catch you month after month. Those will always come. So yeah,
that's a good
so
point.
having the key information has been helpful. So I'm sure this webinar is going to help out.
Yeah, for sure. Carol?
I found, you know, especially on embarkation day, you know, we used to dash off the ship, and obviously retail therapy was a big thing. We would just rush to the mall. We had like 2 hours or 3 hours and just go and spend quite a bit of money. I mean,
yeah,
when you're back home, you just can't do that. You can't go to the mall and spend $500 or whatever it is, you know. So I think that retail therapy was really important. looking at the work hours and everything you experience on board. So I think it's really important to put boundaries in place and to save, as you go along. Else, you just never know when you might need those funds. So
Yep. Yeah. It's so true. And especially dealing with different economies, different economic situations, different exchange rates. That's a whole thing. When you're getting paid in US dollars, you're like, hey, that's like being paid in gold coins. Gold generally doesn't change its value significantly, and the US dollar generally doesn't. And so obviously it means something different in your country, and then when you're getting paid in your native currency, and that's you're getting to see the ebbs and flows of that government, what it means to your husband's from Argentina, and Argentina has been experiencing a lot of what many countries have been. I think when we got married, the peso was $1 to 15, and now I think it's $1 to almost 400. So that has such a huge impact on people. And so it's going to be, I'm not going to talk about currency per se, because I don't know much about it and how to manage it. But I want you guys to think about in what country that you're in, how that layers on to what you're doing into your planning. And so mine are really fundamentals that should help you to, I think, I know you guys hear me talk a lot about mindset, but is to get a level of confidence that you can educate yourself, that you can grow in this area of your life. And then B is you can put systems in place that will allow you to be comfortable. So Personal Finance 101, we're going to start at the ground level. So one of the posts that I did on LinkedIn today, and I'm a huge, huge advocate of, is, and these are just like 6 books that I have off the top of my head that I've read. But you guys know I'm an avid book listener and book reader. But I always try to have a rotation of like a mindset book, a belief book, a money book, of something that's going to help me learn. These are all books that I recommend. And all of these authors are very, very different in their strategies around money. So Dave Ramsey is a very conservative money guy. His daughter is Rachel Cruz, who's the lady in the middle. And Susie Orman as well, as relatively conservative. So all 3 of these individuals are like, don't have well, Dave Ramsey is one extreme where he's like, pay off your house, pay off all your debt, own everything outright, save, and get your job, get your paycheck, be really frugal. Rachel Cruz, his daughter, talks a lot about techniques about how to be frugal, how to save your money, things that you can do. She's got a little bit more of a quirky. Dave is kind of like a little bit more of a policeman. And Rachel is a little bit more funny. She's got a little bit more personality than her strict dad. And then Susie Orman, she used to have a TV show in the States once a week. And she used to do a funny thing where people would come on and ask if they could afford something, and then she would shoot them down. But she basically she looks kind of at investment strategies versus saving and paying off. She doesn't want you necessarily with 0 debt. She wants you to be putting money away so that it's growing in stocks and investments. And so she's kind of this middle. Tony Robbins, his Money Master the Game. This is a giant book. I think it's like that big, but it is so, so interesting because he kind of debunks a lot of the people that are out there in the financial industry that promise you that they're going to save you money or promise you that they're going to get your best return on investment. And he really, really educates you on how those industries are actually structured so they make money off of you. So there's not a lot of financial advisors that would be recommending you to be reading his book because he really gets down to the nitty-gritty of what happened with cash over time, over history. And then Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I think most ship people have read this book because it kind of made its way around the ship world. And it's a really old book. Robert Kiyosaki is a very interesting guy. He is so different from Dave Ramsey. So different. But that's why I push you is that make sure you're reading people that have really opposing views on different topics. And then you are able to establish what's your point of view, what's your comfort level with debt, with risk, with money, because you guys bring to the table how your parents handle money, how your grandparent that raised you handled money, what behaviors you saw from them, what language that they used. If you came from a household or with a parent that says, oh, we can't afford it, we can't afford it, we can't afford it, we can't afford it, that's going to change how you think about money and how you perceive it. So being able to take your history and what you grew up with and then layer that on top of what other financial experts, you'll be able to find a place where you're comfortable. So Robert is very much about leveraging debt. So he is, I think him and his wife, the first property that they ever bought was in Hawaii. And they bought it with $10,000 on a credit card. They got a credit card. I don't know how they got the credit card, but they bought this property and they basically live off of the cash flow of the rental properties. And you'll find that globally, the global economy, because a lot of countries don't have access to loans in the same way people do in the United States or to debt, that you'll find in some countries is that really bricks, land, those are the things where you can build your wealth and when you can get money coming in. And so a lot of what he's saying is it might apply to you to help you understand cash flow and how investments can help you earn. But maybe the debt part doesn't make sense because of where you live. And then the next one is Vicki Robin, Your Money or Your Life. Hers is very interesting. It's a very 101 type of book. It's not as strict as Dave and Rachel, but it's really the basics. Hey, this is where you need to start in your spending and your saving. So those are just 6 that are off the top of my head. If you guys have other ones that you love, and please feel free to put them in the comments that you feel every single person should read. I try and read one probably a month. If not every 2 months, that's financial related. I read another one that's called Die with Zero, and it was about your retirement planning. I read another one that was about taxation strategies. And some of these reads, when you get into them, I don't understand them, but I am moldable enough that I will do my best to understand and ask the questions and Google the stuff because I want to understand. So just make sure that your social media feeds, any of the stuff that you're listening to or watching is of these people that have opinions. I'm following a guy right now that talks about insurance policies, another one that talks about private investing, another one so I look at very different opinions to try and mold what mine is going to be. So start listening, start reading, and that's going to help you as you go on this journey of money. Oh, there's Libra. Yay. Okay. So first and foremost is setting your financial goals. Okay. So this is setting up. And I think that we've talked about this in probably 2 webinars. This is specifically about money. I think the last one that we were talking about, it was about life, about setting goals. So this is really going short term. This is one of my financial goals. And an example would be, I want to pay off my credit card debt. That would be a short-term goal. A long-term goal would be, I want to buy a house, or I want to pay off my house, something like that. So make sure that you're taking the time as you're starting all of this and say, what are my goals? A lot of people go into their personal finance without doing this process, and then they wake up and they're flying a little bit blind. So they've either worked really hard and they have all this money in savings and they go, oh my gosh, what am I going to spend this money on? Or they are working, they're working towards putting together a budget, but they haven't really established that, hey, this is an important part of my monthly budget, the saving for this or the spending on this. And Carol used the example of the SHIP retail therapy, is that, hey, if retail therapy is something that you do and something that you enjoy, if going to the movies is something that you do and something that you enjoy, and it's one of those things that's part of your life, and today you can't afford to be able to do it, being able to put a goal out there and say, hey, I want this one thing as part of my life, be it retail therapy, be it going to the movies, eating at a nice restaurant once a month, be going on a vacation with your family to some exotic location. It may be something that, I'm in Miami, so the goal may be, hey, I want to go to Disney World with my kids, but another goal may be, I want to go on an African safari with my kids. So really being able to sit, and a lot of Tony Robbins talks about this, some other motivational speakers talk about this. It's allowing your mind that space to dream, to go, hey, this is my dream. This is my dream list. These are the things that I would want to do. And putting those actual items on paper, because then those become the goalposts. Those become the destination for you doing the work. If you start doing the sacrifice and the planning and the budgeting and all of those things, and you haven't taken the time to do your dream list, to do the things that you want to work to, then it's kind of for naught. You're working towards something, and then you're like, wait a minute, why am I doing that again? And there's a really good, on my other YouTube channel, I have a talk where I talk, it's a business budgeting. It's called Profit First. It's an author called Mike Michalowicz. And one of the things that he talks about is in small businesses, and I think that you can layer this onto your personal life, is that in your small business is you spend a lot of time working, and then your business ends up eating up all your money, all your cash, all your whatever it may be. And then you forget to pay yourself out to distributions or something for that dream list. Say you want to own a Tesla, say you want to own a BMW, say you want to own a car, like let's start simple. Say you want to do some of those things, is that when you don't write those down as your goals, then you don't ever pull the money into those dreams, and it stops your motivation from keeping on doing it. So it's kind of this momentum that starts building. So first is make sure you sit down to set your financial goals. And if you have a partner in life, make sure you do it with them. I think in the beginning of my relationship with my husband is we always sat down and did our financial goals together. It was like, hey, we want an investment property, or hey, we want to invest this money in this thing for the business. So we would do that mutually. As we've grown, we're finding that we're both in our 40s. He's almost 50. We're getting to that place where we have different strategies on what we want to do. Some of the things that I want to do are not some of the things that he wants to do, and that's okay. So you sitting down with your partner and having this be this, hey, what's the that we want to create? What's the dreams that we want to have? That's an incredibly motivational conversation versus sitting down with that person and saying, oh my God, we can't spend money. We need to have a budget. Barbara said X, Y, and Z. Start with that first goal dreaming session, and then you can move on to the next. So if anybody wishes to sharing their goals or dreams, you're more than welcome to. Like some of mine is I want to get an apartment for my mother-in-law. I want to help, not buy, one of our team members a place. There's a big trip that I want to do. There was a car, which I ended up getting that car that I really wanted. And that was pre-COVID that one went on my list. And then COVID hit and I was, am I getting that car? And then lo and behold, I was able to get that car because I put enough time and energy and effort into the vision of it. So think about what that vision is for you guys, and do that exercise of starting to build it out. All good? Questions? Concerns? Dreams? Anything crazy you guys want to do? No? Okay, you can share at the end if you want. So next one. So the next one is the tough one that people don't like to do. That this is not the fun part, but I would argue that I make it fun. So this is your budgeting and your expense tracking. So I am going to see if I can pull up for you guys really, really quickly. Hang on one second.
Ivy says she wants to buy a boat.
Who does?
Good for you, Ivy. Ivy.
She wants to buy a boat. Do it, Ivy. That's so good. And really, truly, think about a boat, think about an apartment, think about anything like that, depending on where you are in the world, is, if you read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Robert Kiyosaki, that can become an income stream for you. You could do a rental program. You could use it. So in Robert's perspective on what he says, and I love this, I think it's in his book or in one of his podcasts, is he says he never uses the language of I can't afford it, because really, if you think about it, it's really toxic language. The world is your oyster. Anything is possible. You can choose to get a job that's going to pay for your desire, or you can choose to make an investment in that boat, and that could become a cash flow mechanism for you. So one of the things that he says is, when he likes cars, and so when he wants like a Porsche, he collects antique cars. He's like, hey, I want this antique Porsche. The payment on this Porsche is going to be $2,000 a month. So he goes out and he looks for a property that's going to cash flow him $2,000 a month. And he's going to take on debt, but he's going to be making a cash flow. Eventually, he's going to pay off that property after 10 years. And he's going to get rid of that car, but he's still going to have that $2,000 that he was spending on the Porsche coming in for life. And then there's tax benefits, and they're also, think about the boat and think about anything that you want to have out there, is that going, okay, I want this thing. How do I think about it in a creative way so that it can fund itself? So I'm going to share with you a website that we've probably used for about 15 years. Sorry, Wilhelmina, I'm going to kick you off to kick myself on. Okay. Maybe it's been longer than, oops, sorry. Oops. Maybe it's been longer than 15 years. So, and you guys don't have to use this website. I'm just saying this is something that I'm used. I don't know if it'll work within your country, but conceptually, I like it. So mint.com. It's just plain mint, mint.com. It used to be a private company 15 years ago. And basically what they do, it's completely free. But one of the things that it does is it connects to all of your bank and your credit cards. And again, if you guys go on there and in your country with the bank that you use, whatever it is, it doesn't sync with yours, you can still use it and do manual entry. So one of the things that it does is it goes in and you can create budgets for different things that happen in your life. So if you are spending money at Walmart, at Costco, at the grocery store, and you're swiping your debit card or your credit card to be able to pay for it, their system is smart enough so that it will begin to automatically categorize your transactions and say, oh, that's a grocery store. Oh, that's a pharmacy. And against your budgets, it'll start to track. So one of the things so they have an app, it's online. The thing how they ended up getting acquired by Quicken. Quicken is one of the largest accounting websites in the US. But back in the day, it's completely secure. They don't store any of your passwords. They just basically sync between your accounts. And so there'll be some, like, for example, our mortgage on our house is with a small, tiny bank. And so it doesn't sync. So I just go into that bank once a month and I put whatever the balance is on our mortgage and when it's come down to. So in one platform, you can see all of your spending. You can see all of your debt. You can see everything that you own, and you can essentially see your net worth in one place. But what is so incredibly powerful about this is the budget tracking. So you can be able to say, this person says, I've budgeted that I'm going to spend $2,500 this month, and it will begin to slowly chip away at what you're spending. So I'm going to go back to, you guys can still see Wilhelmina. I think she's still in there. So whether you choose to do this in a mint.com because it syncs with your banks, or you have the discipline to go in and update it. If you choose to do it in Excel, if you choose to have little envelopes or jars, the first thing, your first pass at your budgeting and your finance is understanding where your money is going. So I always recommend to people, do 1 month of just tracking. You don't get to have any judgment against yourself. The only thing that you get to do every single day at the end of the day is you go, all right, I spent, look in your bank accounts, look in your credit cards, look at your cash. I'm not a big cash person. In the US, you don't really need to be. But I like to have everything. I don't like to go to bank and take cash out or to cash a paycheck because I find that money goes into a black hole. I like to have it all on a document, on a credit card statement, on a bank statement. So every single day you can go in and say, okay, I spent $3 on Starbucks. I spent, 100 on my light bill. I spent da 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 da. Most people cannot tell you what their electric bill was last month. Most people. And I always go back to, if you were in a position on board where you had to manage any type of budget, you could tell your boss what your target was and how much money there was towards how much, if your APD was $3.49, you could tell your boss that you hit $2.73. But that same person could not tell their boss how much money they spent or how much money they have in their bank account. A lot of people fly blind, and this is not a way to live because it creates this stress and this anxiety in you that's just not realistic to sustain. So start by first counting how much you're spending every single day on your items. That's your baseline. Then after you do that activity, Mint, a platform like that, you get to be able to then say, okay, next month, say for the month of July, it's July 5th. For one of your goals, the month of July, I'm going to track every single dollar that I'm spending. I'm not going to be judgmental to myself. I'm not going to be mean. I'm just going to say, hey, this is what I'm spending. All right. Don't change your habits. Don't do anything significant. Just write it down. Then in the month of August, at the end of July, July 31st, so say by August 5th, you make it a goal to say, okay, how much did I spend in July and in what categories did I spend in? The month of August, what do I want to spend in? Okay. So there is a budgeting rule that you can use that's super simple. It's called the 50-30-20 rule. And the 50-30-20 rule is that 50% of your income should be spent on your needs, on your necessities. So this is water, light, rent, food. This is not going to a fancy restaurant. This is food. This is bare minimum food, okay? This is stuff to keep you alive. Then 30% of your income should go to wants. So believe it or not, people, Netflix is a want. It is not a need. What? No way. Barbara, that's not true. Netflix is a need. No, it's not a need, my friends. It's a want. And I have worked with people. I particularly work with individuals with women single mothers who are in debt, who are trying to get out. I've worked with women who have $5,000 of debt. I've worked with women at $60,000 with debt. And I have to have a conversation with them and say, Netflix is not a need. Netflix is a want. You can't afford Netflix. Sorry. Find a friend who will give you the subscription. Do something creative. I don't know, write in your church group thing. Like, you can't afford Netflix. Okay, I can live without Netflix. So the 30% is your wants. So this is, going out to eat. This is any media subscriptions. This is I don't know, and any things that would be perceived as any fun things you do on the weekend. And then the last 20% is savings. Okay. 20% is savings. Yes, it is savings. A lot of people, and depending on where you are in your life, I have 10% giving. So I have 10% and then I have my 20%. So my wants may go down to, I might do 50, 20, 20, 10, because I give away 10%, I save 20%, and then I crunch down my wants to 20. Or I might do, 45 and, something creative in that way. So your savings, this becomes your gold mine. Okay. This becomes your thing that happens every time your paycheck comes in, every time money comes into your bank account, you're automatically, and the profit first technique that we use for our businesses, which you consider doing personally, is you can have 3 separate bank accounts. Okay. So in those 3 separate bank accounts, your 50, so all of your bills that are your needs hit that bank account. So your electric, your mortgage, your all of those things, every time your paycheck comes in, let's say your paycheck is $1,000, $500 automatically goes into that account. And then the only bills that hit that account are your needs. Then the next one is your wants. You can do the same thing, put the 30% into there. And then that's your fluffy want stuff. And then the last one is your savings. And a lot of people from Mike's book, depending on what your personal control is that if you are able to log into your bank and see those 3 bank accounts and not be tempted to pull money out of your savings and put it into your wants, then have it visible. If you don't have that self-control, turn it off so you can't see it. And he even goes to the place of that, your $1,000 come in, your $200 gets transferred to an external bank account that you have to chip through ice and stone to be able to log in, to be able to use it. So you guys think about what you're comfortable with and what you're able to do and set up those bank accounts in that way. And it doesn't have to be 50, 30, 20. Again, read the books and decide. That's just generally a good rule, depending on what country you live in. Maybe your expenses are lower because food is inexpensive, rent is inexpensive, and you might be able to save a little bit more. Or maybe you live in New York City, you live in a metropolis area that it's really expensive. So your actual expenses, and a lot of people in Miami, rents have gone up insane. And so you might have to make a decision where you're not allowed to, you don't get to have as many wants because your living expenses have gone up. So those are just some examples of things of your 50, 30, 20, adjusting it for something that could be a fit for you. But first, do your baseline budgeting. Write down the numbers for the month of July, and then go into August and start creating your plan. So then once you create your plan, it's automating the system so that you know that you have this much money set aside for this many things, and then your savings. And I think that this is our next slide. Will you move to the next one, Wilhelmina? Okay. So managing types of debt is that 20% that you're setting aside in savings, that money that you're putting into this little bucket, there's a couple things that you want to do with that bucket. So month of July, you guys are going, all right, I don't know what I'm spending money on. I'm going to buckle down. I'm going to start writing it down. Great. You've established that. The next month you're going in and you're saying, all right, these are the percentages that I'm comfortable with. I'm 65% there. I think eventually after a couple months, I could get to 50%. I'm going to give myself a scale. But your debt goes into that 20% bucket. So I treat different people have different strategies. Dave Ramsey has a strategy. I always say to people is that you get 3 different categories when it comes to your savings bucket. Is that first, your savings bucket is used to pay off bad debt. Okay. So in the beginning, you're not really getting a savings. You're paying off bad debt. So let's say you're disciplined. You move that $200 into your savings account. You're going to take half of it. 10% is going to go to paying off your credit card debt. That would be anything that really is above 5%, I would say, is what you're paying on it. So credit card debt, anything that is just debt that you're not happy having. For you, it might be your house, it might be a car payment, it might be something that you owe to a parent for the month when you got off shifts. So start chipping away at that debt. And then start using that 10% to creating a cushion. So once you're paying off your debt, and just not all debt is bad. And so that's why you need to read these books to figure out what your position is on debt. My perspective on debt is very different than a lot of people, but I'm at a different place in my life. And so I'm super disciplined. I know exactly how to use debt to leverage it for my advantage. Where other people, if they gave themselves that freedom, they would be out, on yachts on the weekend and, at 5-star hotels and restaurants. I'm not that. We go to the pizza place, and my car has 90,000 miles on it. So just think about how you manage debt and what the right way to deal with it is. So pay out that bad debt first with your savings. The next is creating an emergency fund. So you need to have between 3 months and 12 months in an emergency fund. 3 months to 12 months. 6 months is a really good safety net. And especially after you get off of shifts, sometimes you start chipping away at that if you can't find employment, if the exchange rate goes to crap, like you're starting chipping away at that. But you want to be in that 3 months to 12-month range, which that's basically covering your 50%. So it's covering all of your needs. If your needs in a given month are $500, then you're going to do 500 times 3, 500 times 6, whatever you want to have, depending on if you have kids, it's going to depend on how much. So you're saying, I can feed my family, house everybody, and pay the lights and have water with this cushion. So then once you paid off the debt, once you have your emergency fund in place, the next step is investing. It's going, all right, that 20% becomes investment. It becomes your money machine. It becomes the stuff that you're investing in places, be it real estate, be it a boat that you're going to rent out, be it the stock market, if you have, if you guys are involved in anything like that, that becomes your growth strategy. So when I was at the women's shelter, these are for women who need temporary housing with their children for a period of time. Every single time I talk, they're always like, okay, when can I start investing in cryptocurrency? And I'm like, honey, you're not investing in cryptocurrency. I'm like, let me talk you through the 3 phases of how you're going to get there. First, you're going to pay off your debt. When that's 0, then you're going to have 12 months of saving. Then you can talk about buying a house, somewhere to live. Then you can talk about cryptocurrency. And so I'm like, I'm not wasting breath. We're not talking about cryptocurrency until you get these 3 critical steps in your personal finance in place. So start thinking where you are on that journey, and then start reading the materials, start getting into the podcast, start listening to the people on social media that are going to feed that type of knowledge to you. Don't be listening to cryptocurrency guys if you have credit card debt. Please, no. They're just going to tell you how you're going to win the lottery, and it's going to solve all your problems by doing that. And if any of you are in cryptocurrency, I don't have anything wrong with it. But I would just think about your steps and the ways you get there. No money is easy. No cash is fast. It's just not how this world works. But with the proper type of planning and control over it, then you can go about it at the pace that is good for you. So next slide, that's debt. So we have gone through, we talked about building an emergency fund. So again, once you get your debt, once you get your debt under control, then you start building your emergency fund, your 3 to 12 months. All right. So this is the one that you're just slowly chipping it away at. And then the last thing is going to be your investment strategy. So this for me is the fundamentals of your personal finance. These are the things that are, you guys still hear me? I'm getting a video network issue. Okay. So once you start going through these, understanding how much money is coming in, where that money is going, then the next step is where do you want that money to go to be able to achieve your goals? Where can you cut costs? Where can you put a little bit more in? Then getting rid of any debt that's not healthy debt. Then putting your emergency fund together so that should you lose a job, should the air conditioner break in your home, should your car break down, you have that to be able to rely on. And remember, once you use that emergency fund, that 20%, you have to build the emergency fund back up. So let's say you end up and you have $5,000 in your emergency fund. Great, I'm so amazing, I have $5,000. And then the air conditioning breaks and it's $3,000. You got to go back to the building up again. Then you can go to investments. So then your longer term goal in your investment strategy is you want to get to a place so that you have you have no unhealthy debt. You have your emergency fund that's sitting there in this lockbox in case you need it. And then you have an investment strategy so that you're taking that 20% and you're putting it into something that is creating some type of cash payout for you. So it's either giving you a rental income, it's giving you a quarterly distribution, it's meaning money that's coming into your pocket. Then you're able to use that money from that growth to either fund your retirement, to use it for that dream vacation or that dream job, that dream trip that you wanted to take, or that dream car that you wanted to have. So that goes back to our dreams list, is that when you get to that place and you get to that last really fun money, then you have to remember to spend it. We see so many people that are just saving and saving and investing, have those investments doing work for you. So if you put $1,000 into a stock market with your partner or personally, make an agreement. Okay, once that $1,000 doubles, it's $2,000. Then I'm going to take 25% of it out and I'm going to use it for X from my dream list. Then you X that off, and you're not taking 2,000 out. You're taking 500 out and you're using it for that dream list. And then you're like, hooray, but you still have $1,500 in there doing work. Then when that $1,500 becomes $3,000, then you're going, okay, I'm going to take 25% of that out and use it for my dream list, $750 from it. But then whatever 3,000 minus 750 is, then that's grown. And then that becomes something else. And your dream list, you're getting to be able to bite off bigger chunks of it. So this is about putting it into investment that is making some money, that it's allowing your dreams to happen. So it's really, really simple when I talk about it, because I've seen it in action. It's daunting when you think about doing it yourself, but I promise you, if you spend, I would venture to say, let's just do the math really, really quickly. You have 24 hours in a day, right? And I'm going to give you 8 hours to sleep. You have 16 hours a day that you get to be productive. And I'm going to multiply that by 30 hours a month. So you have 480 hours a month. I would venture to say, if you spend 2 hours a month focused, out of 480, 2 hours a month focused on this area of your life, it will be transformational. So spend 15 minutes a week on it, looking at your numbers, evaluating where the money went. And then you're going to do 1 hour session at the end of the month or the beginning of the following. I mean, you guys could use August 5th as your next one. Is then that is going to set up a future for you that is on autopilot. You're just going to watch it go in, and all you're doing is going in and checking on it and checking on it and checking it. And I'm not counting your reading time in there. You have to do some reading or listening. But I would encourage you that any of your reading or your listening time, do it during your, what I call your net time. So do it when you're driving, do it when you are blow drying your hair, put your little earbuds in, do it when you're cooking dinner, that you're listening to something. And I typically don't buy books. I have a subscription to our library, and they have electronic books. There's tons and tons of books that you can get for free online, on YouTube. Any book after a certain date, you can pretty much find the audiobook online, or before you go to bed, just commit to not scrolling on your phone. Ha ha ha. Yes, you all know who you are. To not scrolling mindlessly on your phone, but read 10 pages out of your book. That's it. Takes a few minutes, read 10 pages, read one chapter, whatever it may be. And then another technique is that I always have a book in my purse or in my handbag. So anytime I'm standing in line for something, or I'm waiting in the doctor's office or doing something that could become an irritation in life, I'm like, no. This is an opportunity to invest in myself and to grow. So I'm going to sit here and I'm going to read, I'm going to learn, and I'm not going to get annoyed by this slow receptionist and watch her and say a bunch of bad things about how I could operationalize how quickly she's stamping the papers. We have all been there. So just remember, Wilhelmina, if you want to go to the next slide, is that this, as you do that transition from ship to shore, if you've already been on shore for a little while, if you feel like you're established and you're like, oh my gosh, how did this get to the place that it is, that this community, the ship to shore community, we're here to help. We're here to grow together. We're here to provide support so that you guys are, and ultimately employment, virtual employment for those of you who fit any of the roles that we have open. So for us, it's really a passion so that we see the entire global former crew community thrive. So I want to open it up for any questions, concerns, anything that I said that you guys don't agree with, or any best practices that you guys use that you wish to share with the group. I would welcome it. And you don't have to turn on your camera if you don't want. No? All right. Christian, Carol, anything to add?
No, personally, the part where you mentioned to write everything down, I mean, that's huge accountability, right? Because I think that in the back of our head, we really all know exactly where the leak might be, right? And where you could better focus your numbers. So it's definitely a tough exercise, as simple as it is, but it brings great accountability. So definitely,
yeah. And some people, you know, you can use your little like daily agenda. Like I know I've showed you guys my daily agenda before. I've seen people that have little teeny tiny notebooks that they just keep in their pocket or somewhere. And every time they go and swipe their card or do something, or at the end of the day before they go to bed, just log in and just go, okay, today I spent this much money. Great. And you'll see the trends really, really quickly. Carol,
I think it's important to, like recently, well, we've had pool services, swimming pool services coming in for probably about 3 years. Well, obviously it didn't come during COVID. But we thought, really, do we actually need that? I know it's, what's about 1,000 Rand a month, so about $50 a month. So we've actually cancelled that. So Alan is now doing the swimming pool. But just, I think it's good just to when you're doing your budget, just to go through everything, see if it's absolutely necessary, exactly what you're spending every month. You know, there might be something there that really you can save on, like we've just saved a little bit by doing the job ourselves. So yeah, I think it's really important just to write everything down and discuss with your partner or a spouse and see where you can save.
Yeah, absolutely. And you'll really find that there's a lot of charges that pop up on your bills that maybe you didn't notice before. So like a subscription you thought that you canceled, or a fee that a bank is charging you, you know, that if you're not going in and looking at it, then you're like, oh, and I'll email the bank or reach out to somebody and say, why is this there? And maybe make a decision to switch banks or to cancel a service or to do something. In those teeny tiny little micro actions, I don't look at it as purely my savings from the, you know, the $50 or whatever it is. I go, okay, what could that $50 be in a year if I invested it? That it's way more than $50, and then compound that money. What could that be if I put it into, you know, my college education fund for my kids? What could it be if I put it into the stock market? What could I be? And so all of a sudden that $50 is a lot more than $50 when you look at it over 5 years or 10 years. So those little teeny tiny micro actions are really, really big. Good. All right. Well, I hope this has added value to your life. Thank you for keeping on showing up, paying attention, engaging in what we're doing. I appreciate you guys so much. We had a great 4th of July. We should see things ramp up. If you guys have any topics that you want us to touch on that we haven't touched on in a while, please feel free to shoot us an email and let us know. That's why we're here. And then share on, I know we talked about LinkedIn last week. Please share any of our content on your social media channels, and it helps us to get more crew involved, but it also helps you guys to be able to get more engagement in people noticing you on those platforms. So have an amazing week, and let us know if you need anything. Thank you, guys. Bye.